welcome everyone to what's new in CrossLink for 2017. Now, the stuff that I'm going to cover here, you can find in the help file. If you go to help, when you have the program installed, go to help and all topic help. All topic help will bring you into our little help menu here. And this gives you quick access to the manual. And if you go to just highlight chapter 1 here, that will show you all of this what's new stuff. So we make that available to you right inside the program, right as a help file, right at the beginning of the manual. Okay, so all of the stuff that I'm going to cover, now there's a lot of things that we've put in here, and I want to make sure that we get to them in kind of a timely manner here. So we're only going to cover a few of those. If you want to see all of details about the rest of them, again, they're right in that help file for you. So today we're going to talk about how we've changed the way the passwords work within CrossLink, as well as some of the new features like the remote signature capture and some of the new things that we can do with it. We have an enhanced audit check form when it comes to our due diligence, and we'll definitely take a look at that. And our new changes when it comes to our training returns. Our referral coupons, we have a little way to configure them in the back and the setup now, and as well as some new options when it comes to check printing through TPG Bank. Also, some changes to the 8867, the 1040NR, and our business program. Right, so here we go. This is the little help file that we were just looking at. And to start off with, I want to talk about strong passwords. Now, these days, starting this year, we are going to require that you enter a stronger password. So that password now has some rules to it. It has to be at least 8 characters long. And some of those characters, at least one of those characters, has to be a number. One has to be an upper and a lowercase number, and another has to be a special character. And all of this gets put together to make your password a little bit more difficult for somebody to just figure out. Makes things a lot stronger as far as the security and all those things go. And make sure that we're keeping all of that SSN and all of that information as secure as we possibly can. So make sure that when you're entering those passwords this year that you take them down, that you remember what they are, because they're going to be a lot more complex. Along with those strong passwords, we have a function that lets you see to get in case you forget your password. So you no longer have to connect with our technical support staff to quote-unquote break you in when you forget your password. Now there's a link added, and that goes along with our email address and our cell phone that we enter. And this is something that I can actually show you inside the program here. So let me open this up. There's a screenshot. But if I open the program up here, within the settings and login accounts, if we look in here, now we have an email address and a cell phone field that we can enter information in. And if we forget what this password is to this account, and indeed any of these logins, we can have that sent off to them. So if I log out here, I should get CrossLink to log back in, right? And here's that forgotten password. And all I have to do is enter the login name, whatever that may be, click Forgot Password, and then you have the choice to send it either to that email address or that cell phone number that you entered in there, or both. Now notice one of them is grayed out here. That's because I didn't enter information in there. And if you didn't enter an email or a cell phone, this would be grayed out for you. So make sure that once you configure and once you get in there and make everybody's login, that you're adding an email address at least so you can recapture that, that password. Let's see if I can get in again. There we go. Okay, so that's our stronger password and the forgotten password. Now make sure, again, you want to make sure that, let me get this back up here, that you're getting that cell phone information in there or that email information in there. Otherwise, this won't work as well. Moving on, we have also now the ability to disable an account. Rather than deleting account when somebody leaves us, what we can do now, if I go back into that login account, is I have the ability to disable this account. So if it's somebody that is returning every year, I don't have to re-enter their information. I can disable it when they leave at the end of the tax season. And if I know they're coming back at the beginning of next tax season, when I install CrossLink, it'll pull that information from last year. And that way you can quickly get in here and make sure that they're ready to work for this tax season, rather than it re-entering all this information. Disabling login accounts, there's an image of it. And the next up is how we capture signatures these days. Now, this is something that we're quite proud of. This gives us now the ability to capture signatures remotely. And one of the things you might have used last year is this remote capture with somebody's smartphone. That gave you the ability, here's a screenshot of it. It's difficult for me to print when the program doesn't let you. So here's a screenshot, and you can click on remote sign, and this works just like last year for those of you who've worked this last year. You click on remote sign, you say no, you want to use the remote signature. You don't want, there's nobody in the office to sign. And so you'll send that to their cell phone as a text message. Now, there is a similar thing that we can use with their email addresses, and I'll touch on that just a little bit later. But the remote signature capture is really handy, and last year we rolled it out as a beta, and this year we're really standing behind it. It's something we're very excited over. We want to make sure everybody knows about it. Be sure to use this at least once. The customer has to have a smartphone. They have to have that touch screen ability in order to sign their phone. But if you have a customer that's married filing joint and their spouse isn't available to sign the tax return, if they have a smartphone, you can send it straight to their phone as a text message, and they can get to it when they need to. And also, you can send them a copy of the tax return, a full copy of the tax return, just as if they were in your office, straight to their smartphone. It's a really handy way of dealing with customers that want to come into your office and maybe fill out a questionnaire and give you all of their source documentation, and then they don't have to come back into the office for the rest of the season, especially if their refund is directly deposited. Unless they have some sort of issue with their return, that's it. That's the only interaction you'll have with them for the year. So really check out this ability to remotely sign a signature, get a remote signature on your tax returns. If you're talking with our support reps and you want to know more, be sure to ask them about remote sign. Additionally, these signatures can be sent to not only their cell phone, but an email address. And if somebody has a touchscreen monitor at their home, they can use, or even if they're getting their email addresses on their mobile devices, like their iPad or whatnot, with those touchscreen abilities now, we can use and get those signatures captured and sent back to CrossLink. And again, all that stuff is stored within the document archive. Everything is attached to the tax return. So no matter if they're using their cell phone to sign or if you're sending that return to their email address and they're signing with their touchscreen, all of that is saved within the document archive itself. So you all have copies of that. Tax return audits. Now this is something that is very important, I believe, this year. If we look at the setup, in Office setup, under our Auth Audits tab, we have a tax return audit system. And to some of you, this might be new. What happens is when you mark off any of these checkboxes, the validation, the verification mode of the tax return, when you go in and make sure that you're clearing all the errors and omissions, this will trigger that mode to look for these scenarios. So in this case, if I have EIC calculated, but it's a child, it's a niece or a nephew, it's not a son or a daughter, the program is now going to notice that, and it's going to make me dig a little bit deeper into this scenario. You know, it'll ask me, it'll pop up additional forms that'll ask me about adoption papers, or, you know, where's mom or dad, and those kinds of things. So this is a great way to make sure that you're adhering to at least your due diligence requirements when it comes to some of these options here. And there's more than just earned income credit. There's head of household, Schedule A for donations and itemization of your receipts and those kinds of things. American Opportunity Credit. American Opportunity Credit and Earned Income Credit are really important this year because of our PATH Act that we all need to deal with. P-A-T-H, like a Toyota Pathfinder. The PATH Act changes the way some of the returns that have these credits in them are processed by the IRS. And we know that some of these returns, especially if they're EIC, are going to be processed later than others. If this is new to you, I urge you to go out to irs.gov and look into the PATH Act, especially when it comes to EIC and that American Opportunity Credit. That's really going to affect how those returns are processed by the IRS. So what we've done is we've asked additional questions, specifically when it comes to EIC, in our tax return audit tool. So now there's more questions to make sure that when you're filling out a return that has EIC in it, that you're looking at each one of these scenarios. That way, if anything related to EIC, if any of those returns are delayed further or rejected or audited, you at least know that it's not one of these items here. So that's going to be very important this year, especially with that change to the PATH Act. And don't forget American Opportunity Credit here, too. I can't stress that enough. Please, if you don't know about the PATH Act, go out to irs.gov, PATH. That'll get you there. Okay. And minimize. So that's our tax return audits. You know, the fact that we have additional questions here is very important. Next up is our training returns. Now this one's a little bit difficult for me to show you because I can't print in the new program just yet. So I have an image here. Basically, you're allowed to print a training return now. That was not something that we let you do before, just for security reasons. You know, if you're not printing anything out of the training returns, then you're not stealing, or we're making it more difficult for a preparer to steal from us. So, but we've learned from our customer base that printing is something that is definitely in some of your training processes. You want your preparers to print the tax return and turn them in at the end of the day after your training, just so you can correct them. Those kinds of things are important to some of our clients out there. So what we did was we changed and gave you the ability to print a training return. However, it will print the watermark training on it. So you can be sure that if anybody prints it to, you know, maybe take some money out of the till rather than get paid for the service of completing a tax return. If they try to print using the training returns, doing that fill-in print, it'll have that watermark on it. That's our training returns. Next is the referral coupon, and this is something I can show you in the program as well. Here's a little image of it. But if we look in CrossLink and we go to the printing settings and we look at the print options tab, now we have this ability to enter an amount. Now this is a dollar amount. This isn't a percentage amount. So we can enter a dollar amount and we can enter an expiration date that'll print on that referral coupon. So if you have somebody that's out there really spreading the word about how great your services are, you can make that printing of those referral coupons just that little bit easier there. Next is this ability to send email directly from the program itself. Now, sending email, here's a picture of it, because this is hard for me to get into in the new program because I can't print in it yet. But here's an image of it, and we have this little email document checkbox when you go to print. So now you can sign the doc and have it emailed directly to that customer, or you can have the email or the copy of the tax return encrypted and emailed to them straight from the program. And some of this I can show you in CrossLink itself. Let's see. Oh, you know, one thing I want to point out though, one thing that I didn't take a screenshot of was in printer setup in the 1040 return printing tab. Also the business return printing tab has this. But now there's an extra little send to email. That's going to be important if you want to use those email features I just talked about. We need to turn it on within the settings, and that's done again in printer setup on the 1040 return printing tab. Right at the very bottom there, you'll see it, send to email. All right, and that'll turn this little email doc button on for you. And that way, again, you can sign those documents and have them sent straight to that email. Also, if you're in the habit of printing out the acknowledgement letters, those can be emailed straight from the program as well. You do need to capture the customer's email address. So if they don't have one, you know, that's a problem here. But as you complete their tax return, there is a spot on the client data worksheet that asks for their email. As long as you capture it, this will work perfect for you. Next is TPG Printing. Last year, those of us who were with TPG know that there was some issues with printing checks. We went back and forth between their website and the program. Well, this year, we give you the option. So if you're on our bank application, on our website, you're completing it, you may have come across on the fee information page this check print option. There's two options in there, desktop. That means you want to print your checks within the CrossLink program. And then the other option here is remote. That means you want to print from TPG's website. You want to print all those refund checks from TPG's website. And that's up to you. That's a option that you choose when you enroll with TPG. Next, let's talk about these forms. There's two of them in particular. Now you notice there's a bunch of them that we have listed in here, but I'm going to focus in on the 8867 and the 1040 NR because I think those have the most impact to what we're doing here. If we go into the new program, let me open up a tax return here. And if I add the 8867, notice now, even before I add it, the name is changed, Prepares Due Diligence Checklist. And when we look at this, this is completely different. You know, and just for some impact, I can open this in another in last year's program, 8867. Here it is. 8867 prepares EIC checklist. Well, now, thanks to the PASS Act, ladies and gentlemen, we have this change here that we want to be looking at more than just EIC. So now this is a due diligence checklist. And you can see there's a column for EIC, the American Opportunity Credit, Child Tax Credit. All these things are going to be scrutinized with a lot more closely than they have been in the past. And this checklist is also not a single page anymore. It is 3 pages long. So, and it's broken up into sections here, you can see. Scroll all the way down here, right? So be sure you're answering all these questions. This form is just at least 3 times larger than it has been in the past. And we're looking at 3 times the information here from you. And some of these things are changing the way the program works even. So as an example, if you're used to, let me go back into last year's, if you're used to double-clicking on this EIC to get to this additional documentation worksheet, that kind of stuff has changed these days. So hang on to your hats there. Make sure that you know you're filling this whole form out. And the other one, the 1040NR, that one's a little bit on the difficult side for me to show you because I can't transmit yet. So here's kind of a screenshot. What we're trying to do is show you that a 1040NR is selected here in the attached forms list and that we're able to send it off. So there's a little bit of trust me element here for this one, but definitely those 1040NRs are going to be able to be electronically submitted to the IRS this year. So that's a big change for that form as well. The business program. The business program, that's not quite out yet, but there are some exciting changes we've made to this. Not only have we added states for the 1041 and the 990, but we've expanded the way financial statement importing works. And the way we've done this is now, instead of looking for a specific QuickBooks file, now we're going to be looking for a more universal CSV file, a comma-separated value file. So if you have the ability to save those reports in CSV in 2 columns, description and amount, those things can be imported into the CrossLink program now, and that greatly expands the accounting programs that you can use to import that information in your, and Xero is an example of that right here. But any of them that can export in a CSV file, that is going to work in as far as the CrossLink program goes. You guys will be able to import all that information and get those business returns completed a lot quicker. Additionally, we've expanded the way the business is reported. We didn't have this custom reporting ability included with our business module in years past. That has been changed. Now you can build your own reports within the business module, just like you could on the individual side. So now you can get to the bottom of anything that's in the program. You can report on it and build your own reports and pin those reports to the the work in progress summary and all that stuff. So it's very, very good.